right?
No, not really.
Come on.
But hey, it was curious. I got a chance to see some things.
Yeah, but you were 13. What were you seeing?
I went there to see the lifestyle.
There's a short life in
Why do you think that is with the creative side?
Well, because losing out money, you got to take. You're going through so much to try and deal with life.
Hold on to your seats, because what we're about to dive into is not just your regular run-of-the-mill celebrity gossip. It's an unfolding storm so tangled in secrets, power plays, and whispers of betrayal that even Hollywood's most seasoned insiders are left shaking their heads. This is the kind of story that has everything: glitzy parties masking twisted realities, backroom deals that went far beyond business, and names so big they practically define an era of music and pop culture. And at the center of it all, Sean Diddy Combs, the man who built an empire on swagger and charm, now facing accusations that could bring it all crashing down.
You are literally, it's an unhealthy space. And so eventually you're going to go too far, Who knows what happened to Philip? Who knows what he had to do in order to get to where he was at? There's a lot of things that people do that end up sitting and they can't get over it. And they got to keep getting high, hoping to get it out of their head, but when you lose your man card.
Diddy's world has always been a spectacle. The yachts, the mansions, the entourages. He lived like royalty, and for good reason. This was the man who didn't just redefine hip-hop, he rebranded it as a lifestyle. But behind the designer suits, whispers have been swirling for years. Whispers of control, of manipulation, of secrets locked away so tightly that even the most daring reporters wouldn't touch them. Until now, because what's emerging isn't just a whisper. It's a tidal wave of allegations that threaten to drown one of the most iconic figures in music history. Let's start with the parties, the ones everyone wanted an invitation to. For years, Diddy's legendary gatherings were the stuff of dreams. They weren't just events, they were status symbols. If you were there, you were someone. But according to insiders, there was another side to these celebrations that most people never saw. A side where the glitz and glamour gave way to something far more unsettling. Former associates have hinted that these weren't just parties, they were power plays, designed to test loyalty, to blur boundaries, and allegedly to trap people in situations that could later be used against them. And if you think that sounds far-fetched, just wait. The revelations coming out now suggest that these so-called freak-offs were more than just wild rumors. They were carefully orchestrated spectacles, complete with hidden cameras and a cast of unwilling participants. And here's where it gets even darker. Multiple sources have come forward claiming that Diddy didn't just host these events, he controlled them with an iron grip. Nothing happened without his say-so. Guests were allegedly handpicked, the settings meticulously arranged, and the agenda set by the man himself. Why? Power, some say. Control, others whisper. And while no one's putting all the pieces together just yet, the puzzle that's forming is enough to make anyone uneasy.
Look at Diddy, for instance. Mm-hmm. Let's take a look at him. Mm-hmm. Let's take a look at, he has videos. He has videos of the parties. Now, what I've heard, which I don't know how much of it is in mainstream media, I don't really follow the story that much, but what I've heard from friends that are attorneys, friends of mine that have represented me before, agents and so on, is there's a bidding war going on right
Take YK Osiris, for instance, a rising star who seemed to have everything going for him, until he didn't. His spiral from fame to obscurity wasn't just another story of a young artist burning out. No, this was something different. His cryptic social media posts, his sudden disappearance from the spotlight, it all screamed of someone who had seen too much, or perhaps been caught up in something he couldn't escape. Those close to him have hinted that his name was whispered in the same breath as Diddy's when it came to these infamous gatherings. And then there's the fact that he sold off his luxury cars and spoke openly about feeling broken by the industry. Coincidence? Maybe. But when you start connecting the dots, it's hard not to wonder if he's just one of many who fell into a web that's only now being unraveled. And it's not just YK Osiris. Burna Boy, Meek Mill, even 50 Cent, names keep popping up, each one linked to Diddy in ways that no one wants to fully explain. Burna Boy's collaboration with Diddy on Twice as Tall raised eyebrows at the time. The official story was that the partnership was about bridging cultures, connecting Africa to the US and creating something truly global. But behind the scenes, rumors swirled. Why did Burna Boy, already a global superstar, need Diddy's stamp of approval? Was it really about music? Or was there something else in play? And then there's the photo that surfaced, the one that had people questioning everything. Was it real? Was it edited? No one knows for sure, but the timing couldn't have been worse. or more suspicious. As for Meek Mill, his connection to Diddy has always been a little too cozy for some people's liking. Matching outfits, joint appearances, and exclusive invites. Meek seemed to be everywhere Diddy was. But then came the whispers. Was this just networking, or was there something deeper going on? And when you add in the leaked audio clip that allegedly captured something no one wants to talk about, the questions only multiply. What was Meek really doing at those parties? And why has he been so quiet lately?
Did you ever have the opportunity where you got invited and you said no to it?
Hell yeah.
What was the consequences when you said no?
Puffy invited me for weeks, asking me to come and teach him how to, wanted me to be his acting coach for a while. Go there and he's sitting around just looking. I'm like, okay, what's the material you want to work on? He's just looking at it.
Even 50 Cent, known for his no-holds-barred attitude, has had his moments of unease around Diddy. He's made it clear that he kept his distance, famously quipping about the weird energy he felt whenever Diddy was around. And let's not forget his claims that Diddy once offered to take him shopping, a gesture that 50 found more than a little unsettling. Was it just an innocent comment, or was it something more? Given everything that's come to light, it's hard not to wonder if 50's instincts were spot on. And then there's the legal fallout. From lawsuits to federal investigations, it seems like the walls are closing in. Allegations of coercion, manipulation, and even blackmail have surfaced, painting a picture of a man who didn't just wield power, he weaponized it. One particularly chilling claim involves a former bodyguard who alleges that drinks at these gatherings were spiked to ensure compliance. If true, it's a level of premeditation that's hard to wrap your head around.
To not be involved with a famous singer, to not come out, here's the price. And that they're just selling to the individuals that are in those. This is what I heard. They're selling those videos. So if you're Tommy X, and Tommy X is a big, big movie star, and he was at some of the Diddy parties, he was in one of those bedrooms with 3 other men, and he's happily married to a woman, and blah. Tommy doesn't want that video to come out.
But perhaps the most damning revelations come from those who were closest to Diddy. Terrence Howard, Albie Shore, even Katt Williams. They've all hinted at a side of Diddy that the public never sees. Howard's story about Diddy's bizarre behavior during their supposed acting lessons is enough to make anyone uncomfortable. And Albie Shore's claims about Kim Porter's fears for her life add a tragic layer to an already disturbing narrative. Porter's demise has long been a source of speculation, with some suggesting that she knew too much. Her alleged memoir, Kim's Lost Words, only adds fuel to the fire, even as its authenticity remains in question.
All lies will be exposed, that's all. And anyone who takes that the wrong way, know why they take it the wrong way.
And let's not forget Katt Williams, who has been sounding the alarm for years. His comments about turning down millions to protect his integrity, his claims about the hidden darkness of Hollywood. At the time, many dismissed him as just another eccentric comedian. But now, his words carry a weight that's hard to ignore. Was he trying to warn us all along? What's clear is that this isn't just about one man or one scandal. This is a story about power, control, and the lengths some people will go to maintain their grip on both. It's about an industry that thrives on secrets and a culture that often values loyalty over truth. And as more voices come forward, the picture that's emerging is as shocking as it is heartbreaking. What else is out there, waiting to be uncovered? What other secrets are hiding in plain sight? And if you thought the story couldn't possibly go deeper, buckle up. Because the cracks in this empire are starting to look more like sinkholes. The deeper you dig, the more tangled this web becomes. Let's talk about the whispers that have been circulating for years, whispers that were dismissed as conspiracy theories or industry gossip. But now, with so many voices coming forward, those whispers are starting to sound a lot like screams. One name that's been coming up repeatedly is Albie Shore, the R&B crooner who not only had a front-row seat to the rise of Diddy, but also shared a deeply personal connection through Kim Porter, the mother of Diddy's children and Albie Shore's former partner. Al has been dropping breadcrumbs for years, hinting at dynamics that went far beyond the surface. His cryptic remarks about being warned to stay out of it for his own safety have resurfaced with chilling clarity. It's as though he's been sitting on a powder keg of secrets, trying to decide whether lighting the match is worth the risk. And here's the kicker. He's not the only one who seems to be holding back.
I'll tell you, I don't know how much, I don't like to say things that I know unless I see it. That there's a little difference, you know. But was it discussed? Was there descriptions from people I know that were at those? Yes, but here's another thing. So how many of these big entertainment parties and over the years and everything with as successful as you are, have you been around? Does anyone ever come up to you at a certain hour and say, okay, it's time to go? At those parties, they did.
Kim Porter's untimely passing remains one of the most unsettling chapters in this saga. Officially, it was ruled a medical issue, but the timing, the context, and the eerie claims of a digital journal she allegedly kept have painted a far darker picture. If the rumors are to be believed, Porter's journal contained revelations about her life with Diddy that she feared would never see the light of day. But here's where it gets even murkier. Multiple sources have claimed that her devices, her phone, her laptop, were accessed shortly after her passing. What was on them? Who gained access and why? And more importantly, what did they want to ensure never came out? And while we're on the subject of secrets, let's zero in on those infamous parties. What's becoming increasingly clear is that these weren't just about indulgence, they were about leverage. Multiple sources close to the inner circle have suggested that these events were meticulously documented. Cameras were allegedly placed in strategic locations, capturing moments that could later be used as bargaining chips. Imagine being invited to what you thought was a glamorous celebration, only to find yourself unknowingly part of a game you didn't even know was being played. And the most disturbing part? Some of the biggest names in entertainment may have been caught in this web, their careers dangling by threads that Diddy himself held. Take Orlando Brown, the actor whose erratic public appearances and outbursts have often been written off as the ramblings of someone struggling with personal issues. But what if there's more to his story? Brown has hinted, sometimes directly, sometimes in veiled comments, that he was exposed to some of the darkest corners of the industry during his time in the spotlight. His comments about secret rooms and things that happen when the cameras are off might have been dismissed as the ramblings of a troubled mind a few years ago. Now they're being revisited with a much sharper lens. Was he trying to sound the alarm about a side of Hollywood that most of us can't even fathom?
That was all the people that went to the puffy parties. That was all the people that did all those things thinking that there was never going to be a consequence for what they were doing. Got punked out and pimped out by some greater desire. You shouldn't have a greater desire than being a man. So I believe that's a big problem with a lot of the actors out there because they get fluid. And next thing you know, once you go fluid,
Brown's allegations don't exist in a vacuum. Jaguar Wright, another industry insider who has never been shy about calling out the power players in music, has backed up some of his claims. Wright has described a culture of unchecked indulgence and exploitation, where the promise of fame was often dangled as bait to lure the vulnerable into situations they couldn't escape. In one particularly jarring revelation, she claimed to have witnessed people fleeing from exclusive gatherings as if their lives depended on it. What exactly were they running from? And how deep does this culture of manipulation go? Wright's accounts, while controversial, align eerily well with Brown's cryptic warnings, suggesting that these aren't isolated incidents, but part of a much larger systemic issue. Adding fuel to this fire is a sudden reemergence of old interviews with other artists who had connections to Diddy's world. One such interview involved a former bodyguard who claimed that certain events were tightly controlled, with attendees handpicked not just for their star power, but for their willingness to comply. This individual alleged that everyone knew the unspoken rules. You were either in or you were out, for good. And for those who didn't play along, their careers often seemed to stall mysteriously, with opportunities drying up almost overnight. The implications here are staggering. How many careers were sacrificed to maintain the status quo? And how many voices were silenced before they even had the chance to be heard?
Is that I'm quite likely to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth, so help me God.
Even more intriguing is the recent leak of what some are calling the list, an alleged roster of names linked to these infamous gatherings. While its authenticity has yet to be confirmed, the very existence of such a document has sent shockwaves through the industry. The list reportedly includes not just artists, but high-profile executives, athletes, and even public figures from outside the entertainment world. If even a fraction of these names turns out to be accurate, it could blow the lid off an entire network of connections that most people never even suspected. The idea of such a list being used as leverage is both terrifying and entirely plausible, given the pattern of control and coercion that's already emerging in this story. And then there's Terrence Howard, a man who's no stranger to controversy himself, but has always carried an air of calculated composure. His recent comments about being approached by Diddy under the guise of acting lessons have left people stunned. Howard described the encounter as something that left him deeply uncomfortable, claiming that the interaction felt less like a professional opportunity and more like a test of boundaries. He has since stated publicly that he's lost roles and opportunities in Hollywood because he refused to play along with certain expectations. What exactly were those expectations, and how many others have found themselves in similar situations, faced with impossible choices?
Have lost businesses because I don't bend over in that way. I don't compromise. I don't play roles. I don't kiss a man. I don't do that because the man card means everything.
The cracks in Diddy's carefully curated image are turning into full-blown fractures, and the legal battles are piling up faster than anyone can keep track. One of the most damning developments is the ongoing investigation into alleged coercion and exploitation. Federal prosecutors have been tight-lipped, but leaked fragments of the case point to a pattern of behavior that is as calculated as it is chilling. According to court documents, multiple witnesses have come forward describing scenarios that sound more like scenes from a psychological thriller than real life. And the scope of these allegations, it's not just limited to a handful of incidents. This is a narrative that spans decades, crossing state lines and international borders. And let's not forget the role of power dynamics in all of this. For years, Diddy's influence was seen as a ticket to success, a golden key that could unlock doors most people didn't even know existed. But what happens when that key comes with strings attached? Insiders have described a culture of fear that permeated his circle. Careers could be made or destroyed with a single phone call, and everyone knew it. That kind of power isn't just intoxicating, it's dangerous. It creates an environment where silence becomes currency, and loyalty is often purchased at an unthinkable cost.
I'm not sure. I don't buy for a minute that he's going to prison without getting out of here somewhere and stashing $2 billion or whatever. I think he has that kind of power, meaning Sean himself. But remember, it goes a lot deeper than that.
And then there's the financial angle. Multiple lawsuits have hinted at settlements and payoffs designed to keep certain stories from ever reaching the public. The amounts involved are staggering, but what's even more telling is the pattern. It's not just about money, it's about control. The question isn't just how much has been paid to keep these stories quiet, but how many more stories are out there waiting to be told, and how many people have been complicit in maintaining this silence, either out of fear or for their own gain. As this story continues to unfold, the ripple effects are being felt throughout the industry. People who once seemed untouchable are now finding themselves under scrutiny, and the lines between ally and enemy are becoming increasingly blurred. What's clear is that this isn't just about one man or one set of allegations. This is about an entire culture that has thrived on secrecy and manipulation, and the people who are finally daring to challenge it.
I can't win over there because I don't play. I don't participate. Like, you can't buy me, not because I'm not for sale. You can't buy me because I'm not in the store. It's different.
But here's the real question. Is this just the beginning? Because if the whispers we're hearing now are any indication, this story is far from over. The walls are closing in. And the question isn't whether more revelations are coming, it's how much more the industry can take before it all comes crashing down. Are we witnessing the fall of an empire, or just the tip of an iceberg so massive that it could reshape the entertainment world as we know it? Let us know what you think down below, and we'll see you in the next one.